Now, with tensions swiftly escalating on the Korean peninsula, North Korea says it would destroy the United States without mercy in case of an attack by Washington. In a statement, the country's military warned of the toughest counteraction against the U.S. and its naval forces, saying it would not give the aggressors a chance to survive. Also, North Korea's vice foreign minister says Pyongyang is ready for war and will launch a preemptive strike at any sign of U.S. military aggression. The threats come as a U.S. aircraft carrier is on its way to the Korean peninsula amid reports that Pyongyang might soon conduct another nuclear weapons test. Meanwhile, both Russia and China have advised all parties against provocative action.
One has the feeling that a conflict could break out at any moment. I think that all relevant parties should be highly vigilant with regards to this situation.
China says there will be no winners in a possible armed conflict between North Korea and the United States, noting that Beijing is ready to facilitate negotiations between Washington and Pyongyang. Also, Russia says it is watching the developments on the Korean peninsula with great concern. The Kremlin has warned the U.S. that resorting to force will not resolve the problem. The situation on the Korean peninsula took yet another turn for the worse after Trump said in a tweet on Tuesday that Pyongyang was looking for trouble and warned that the U.S. will take action to solve the problem. To discuss that, we're now joined by Jason Enruhe, who is a political commentator and analyst, and he's joining us live now from Ontario via Skype. Jason, thanks for joining us. What do you make of the possibility of war on the Korean peninsula?
I think it's starting to look more like there's a possibility that there's going to be a war between the two sides. Both have drawn their respective red lines. They've made their intentions very clear. It seems very likely that the DPRK is going to carry out a nuclear test on the 105th anniversary of the birth of the state's founder, Kim Il-sung. The U.S. says, if you do the test, we will invade, we will take preemptive force. The DPRK says that if you take any actions, including preemptive strikes or preemptive force, they will retaliate, saying that they will ruthlessly savage the United States if it comes, under attack. And they said specifically that they would strike U.S. bases in the Asia Pacific, including the South Korean presidential palace, if the U.S. attacks. And I suspect that this is an answer to the drills where they practice the decapitation strike to eliminate Kim Jong-un ahead of time. This is not like the Syrian situation. This is far more dangerous with the element of nuclear technology on the side of the DPRK. They're saying straight out, if you attack, we will make, as you said, the price of launching an attack against us something that would make it not worthwhile. If there's any serious provocation by the United States, they will strike. Both sides are not backing down, and it seems like one or the other is going to have to break.
And Jason, I'm wondering then, North Korea says, in part at least, that its nuclear weapons program is a deterrent, for any U.S. aggression. Has that not worked?
I think it has worked to a very large degree. Previously, they had massed artillery, tens of thousands of pieces along the border ready to completely decimate the city of Seoul in the event of an invasion. The U.S. is probing them. This is a battle of wills right now. The U.S. is considering whether or not the DPRK will carry through on their threat to use those weapons if they are invaded. And I think thus far the nuclear deterrent has been successful. Why risk an entire war on the peninsula if these weapons are available? And if the DPRK was supposedly so weak and so vulnerable, then the United States surely would have invaded by now. But the big question of nuclear weapons really changes the cost-benefit analysis of whether or not invading the country is a good idea.
All right, Jason, we'll leave it there at that. But of course, we appreciate you sharing your insight with us.